Blur, get the Dinobots in the shuttle. I'm trying to, older madness. I don't care. Oh, hey, what's up? It's Fable from One Collection Down, and you're watching S-Fawn 82, Comic Book Addicts. Station.
Station. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another Comic Book Addicts. It's a beautiful Monday. It's Monday, June 10th. Ready to talk some more comics, and I'm ready to start the week off right with the Monday night lineup. Everybody's going tonight. Izzy is back after a 2-week hiatus, so Monday night lineup is in full effect, and yeah, it's going to be a good night. So let's get everything started. We got the Monday night lineup, like I said before, kicking off. Started by Izzy, excuse me. Had a little bit of. Okay, there we go. Sorry, y'all. Izzy kicked it off at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. As usual, he is back after a 2-week hiatus. So glad to have Izzy back. Comic Book Addicts, of course, at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. Then followed by Council of Comics at 8 p.m. We got Geek Out with Roscoe Between the Lines at 8:35 p.m. Eastern time. Tonight they got Brandon Mon Comics as special guest, so that's going to be awesome. Then you got 22 Comics at 9 p.m. Cupo Comics with his Monday Night Raw books at 10 p.m. Eastern time. We got a whole evening full of live streams, so y'all be sure to check those guys out. Back again to do the intro song for Comic Book Addicts. Y'all welcome Brother Joe back to the live stream. What's up, Brother Joe? How you doing this week, man? So glad to have you back again to kick off the show. How are you this week?
Beautiful, brother, beautiful. I just like to let your audience know this is a disclaimer before I get started.
All right.
I was, before I joined a little group called the Backlog Bros, I had no idea I was going to be singing. I had no idea, no thoughts of singing. But
Right.
one day, a friend of mine named Fable asked me to sing an intro song for his show, Fable and His Amazing Friends. So I said, all right, I'll do it. I'll give it a shot. And after that, he liked it so much, he asked me to start singing in every show.
It's
So
awesome.
and so I said, okay, I'll do it. Let's work on it. That'll give me something to do. So here we are, 3 years later, Scott, and you asked me to do the same thing.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'm so happy and proud that you chose me to do this.
I'm glad to have you back, man. It's an honor.
All right. So that being said, let's get this show started.
Let's do it.
Anytime, any day, you can hear the people say, love is blind. Well, I don't know, but I say love is kind. Do 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 do. Soldier boy kisses girl, leaves behind a tragic world, but he won't mind. He's in love and he says love is fine. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. Oh yes, indeed we know the people will find a way to go, no matter what the man says. Love is fine for all we know. For all we know, our love will grow. That's what the man said. Won't you listen to what the man said? He said, do 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 do. Do 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 do. The wonder of it all, baby. The wonder of it all, baby. The wonder of it all, baby. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yes. I love it, man. I love it.
I
Get
don't know.
everybody
I don't know.
laughing in a
I don't know
good
what I'm
mood.
doing. I don't know what I'm doing. I love y'all. I love y'all for loving me.
Love
I
you
guess.
too, Brother Joe. I was trying to figure out the song. I didn't recognize it for a second, but then I caught it. I caught it after a little bit. That was awesome, Brother Joe. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much for coming back again this week. It's awesome.
Hey,
Awesome.
there's a thing out there called blame Fable. Just every
Yes.
time you say that, blame Fable for that. Blame Fable for making me awesome. That's all. Fable and his amazing crew and friends, all the Backlog Bros.
Well, we appreciate you, Brother Joe. Thank you so much for coming. You going to come back next Monday?
Sure. Let me tune up. Let me tune up my vocals again and see what I got going on. All right.
Yeah.
Have a great show. You know I'm a busy man. I'm here, there, and everywhere. So I'll
Yep.
talk to y'all later. Take care.
Thank you, Brother Joe. Have a good evening.
You're quite welcome.
Brother Joe, everybody. And let's see who we have in the chat. I didn't know what song he was doing at first. It took me a second to figure it out, but I eventually figured it out. But first in the chat, as usual, we got Las Cruces. He says, good morning. He was here at 10:38 this morning. Thank you so much for coming by, Las Cruces. We got Brian LCS saying, is it Monday already? Absolutely, it is Monday. And we got the Monday night lineup in full effect tonight. A lot of awesome live streams ahead of us. Las Cruces back again saying hooray and woohoo, as well as hello from New Mexico. Thank you so much for coming every week and supporting Comic Book Addicts, bro. We appreciate you. We got Chris, the comic vet, saying he's watching from work. Thank you for your support as well, Chris. Look forward to hanging out with you this Wednesday on your live stream, the Show Us What You Got New Comic Book Day live stream. It's one of my favorite live streams to hop on throughout the week. Always a good time. We got Brother John in the house, Brother John Comics. He says, what's good, brothers and sisters? What's going on, Brother John? I hope you're having a good week so far, man. We got Rich, Comic Cap Collectibles. He says, yo, hello. Hey, Scotty, what's up, Rich? I hope you're having a great week so far, man. We got Bobby De La Ghetto saying, that's not the way I remember it. We love Brother Joe, man. I'm so glad that he agreed to come out here. I don't know. I feel like it kind of gets everybody in a good mood. It gets people laughing at the beginning of the show. And that's what it's all about. It's all about having fun. We're not trying to take things too seriously. We're just trying to have a good time here. So, so glad that he would come out and do this week after week. I think that's really cool of him. So big shout out to Brother Joe. And big shout out to you guys. We got Bobby De La Ghetto with his music emojis. We got Chris the Comic Vet, hashtag better than Tay-Tay, which I would agree with. We got Rich, Comic Cap Collectibles, saying happiest dude in the world right there. Yes, Brother Joe is having a good time. He's always having a good time, and he knows how to do it. And I'm so glad that he's hanging out here with us. Bobby De La Ghetto saying Brother Joe. And as people pop in, I'll shout them out. But like I was saying, we got Monday night lineup in full effect. A lot of awesome live streams ahead of us. And we got an awesome live stream tomorrow night. I hope that you guys will come back tomorrow night. We got a special Comic Book Addicts. I don't normally do it on Tuesdays, but this week we're going to do a special Comic Book Addicts. I'll have Cliff from Council of Comics back here hanging out with me at 10 p.m. Eastern time. And we're going to be talking and hanging out with special guest John Boy Myers, amazing artist in the industry. He's worked for Marvel. He's worked for DC. You name it, he's done it. He is a legend. He's been at it for close to 30 years, and it's going to be awesome. So I hope that you guys will come and hang out for this, as well as we will have a cool giveaway going. All you got to do is be present in the live stream and type in the hashtag Comic Book Addicts, and you could win these prizes. So come hang out with us. It's going to be a lot of fun. And tonight, though, we have an awesome guest this evening, and I'm really looking forward to talking to him. But first, we got a little segment that I like to call YouTube Polls, where I throw up random polls on YouTube and let you guys determine the answer. And I always have a lot of fun with these. I like to try to think of different questions and shake things up every week and ask you guys different things and related to whatever books come out that week. But this week, for the first poll, I asked you guys, I said, this is probably the newest title of the week, The Ultimates. It dropped this past New Comic Book Day on Wednesday. And I wanted to know what you guys thought about it or if you had a chance to read it. And the overwhelming vote, 55% of you said you haven't had a chance to read it yet. And 30% of you said that you liked it a lot. So it seems like the majority of the people that have read it did enjoy it. So have you guys read The Ultimates? Let me know in the comments. Have you guys read The Ultimates? Did you enjoy it? My second poll had to do with Ghost Machine. And I wanted to ask a question because this past Wednesday we had the release of the Geiger Volume 1 Deluxe Edition, which I was able to pick up, and it is amazing. It's awesome. I definitely recommend picking it up if you're a Geiger fan. But I thought that we would talk about Ghost Machine. So I asked, out of these 4 titles, which one did you guys enjoy the most out of the 4 Ghost Machine titles? And with 39%, Geiger won it. So Geiger took first place, and with 35%, Rook Exodus got second place. Junkyard Joe got third place with 17%, which surprised me. I kind of thought it would be higher up there. And Redcoat finished last with 9%. But I think they're all amazing titles. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments as well. What's your favorite? The next question was cover of the week. I put my top 4 favorite covers from this past New Comic Book Day. And out of these 4 covers that I threw up there, you guys picked the X-Men issue 35 Koblish wraparound cover for the cover of the week. It got 40% out of like 27 votes, I think. And it was a really awesome cover. It almost reminded me of like a Where's Waldo cover. Second place was the Ultimates Coelho foil cover, which that cover was awesome. Super, super awesome foil cover. Third place was the Ultimates John Tyler Christopher Negative Space. And last place, which really surprised me, one of my favorite Jenny Frison covers from this year so far for Vampirella. It got last place with 15%. So no love for the Frison cover, sadly. But that's one of my favorite covers that she's done this past year. I really like that one a lot. And speaking of Frison, she has a really awesome one coming out, I think, this week for Scarlet Witch, and it's even better. I hope that I can pick it up. I'm definitely going to try to pick up the Virgin for that one if I can. We got 23 Monch. What's up, man? He says, hello, comic book addicts in chat. What's up, dude? Welcome. Let's get the guest out here. We have an awesome guest this week. My guest this evening is a really cool dude. He's a comic book collector, much like many of us. But one thing that stuck out to me is I found out that he does a little bit of stand-up comedy. And so when I found that out, I went on YouTube, looked it up, and watched it, and thought it was actually pretty hilarious. So I wanted to talk to him about this, his comic book collecting, and so much more. But anyways, y'all help me welcome Orion Trunk to the live stream. What's up, man? How you doing?
Hey, good. How are you?
I'm great. I'm doing well, man. So glad that you could come and hang out with us tonight. And what's up, man?
Yeah,
good evening, all. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Orion. What city do you currently reside in? Yeah, just give us a little bit of
good stuff. Yeah. I always hate it when people introduce me as a stand-up comic because I do not give off the vibe of like a super charismatic, funny person. But it's always fun to break the mold. But yeah, so I currently reside in Provo, Utah. Actually, I've been here for about 5 years. But my wife and I and our kids have traveled pretty much all over the country at this point. We've been in Florida, New Jersey, Texas. Spent a little time in Mississippi, but we've been in Utah the last 5 years and have really enjoyed it out here.
Okay. Is that where you plan on, are you planning on staying there for a little while?
Yeah, somewhere around here as long as we can, for sure. It's definitely been our favorite place that we've visited as far as just everything out here, the scenery, the weather, everything like that. We love it.
Awesome. I've never been out there before. I've never been that far west, actually. I'm in Chattanooga, Tennessee here.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever been there before. I would like to.
Yeah, it's got a lot of cool stuff for sure.
But what? Obviously, I have you here to talk comics, right? What age would you say that you first picked up a comic book?
I was trying to think about that because I figured you would ask something along the lines of that.
Did you get into it later, or were you like into it when you were a kid?
No, so it's actually a pretty interesting story. Usually when I tell the story, it sparks a little bit of jealousy because I actually grew up with my parents founded a sports card and comic store back when I was about 6 or 7 years old.
Really? Dude, that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's really
this was down in Florida. It's about an hour south of Jacksonville. It's called TNT Comics, Cards and Comics.
Nice.
And yeah, so it was just really cool because I still have a couple of the issues from that time frame, so I usually use those to kind of carbon date myself a little bit. I'm like, all right, well, I got this, and that was 1990, so I would have been 7, 8 years old at the time. So it was just definitely great because they started, they did flea markets, they did some local shows, stuff like that. They eventually did like a hobby shop with another friend. And then by the time I was 7 or 8, they had their own full blown store that they were just running completely out of sports cards, comics. It was like the whole gamut, and it was just really cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, when did you first pick up, like, because you were around it obviously from them? At what age would you say that you actually got into collecting comic books yourself?
I mean, really, at that age, we were definitely trading them. Buying. We used to buy them off the rack even probably before then. But I bought the Casper Digest, the
What
Archie
pulled
Digest.
you in? What grabbed a hold of you and pulled you in?
I was always into non-hero stuff, to be honest, and it was interesting because, like, most of my family liked sports. They were huge into statistics, all that kind of stuff, and my brothers would be into a lot of the superhero stuff. And that was early '90s, so it was really when Image and stuff like that was going on. But for me, Duck books, Archie books, Harvey comics, just a lot of those. Yeah, a lot of those non-hero books were really just my favorite thing. I could pick up any of them and just really enjoy them. I still liked, the superheroes, Spider-Man and stuff like that too. But growing up, it was always to me about the non-heroes, as far as the Ducks, the Archies, the Harvey heroes, stuff like that.
Yeah, that's why I did the Uncle Scrooge in the background, because when I was talking to you and asking you some of your favorite characters, Uncle Scrooge was the first name that you named, which I thought was interesting. And cool at the same time, because I don't know, I was into those type of comics really early on, and I still am to this day. Honestly, I still collect that type of stuff and enjoy it. It's really cool to me. But yeah, you're the first one that I think that's ever came on here and said that was initially what got them in. What were some of your favorite characters, would you say?
Scrooge was always a lot of fun for me, and it was funny because my career, I eventually got into finance, so I sometimes always wonder a little bit if that spurred some kind of interest. But Jughead was a big one, Uncle Scrooge, Casper. I remember my parents went to one of the diamond conventions down in Florida, and they brought me back a Casper hat that I probably wore for about 6 years straight. I don't think I ever took it off until it eventually just busted, and then so a lot of them, and then we had that store really at, I think, the perfect time. If you talk to any comic collector, it feels like it's that really arguably best time of the Copper Bronze Age, kind of finishing up, getting into the artist era with Image Comics and everything like that. So I mean,
yeah,
there was really just an explosion of anything you wanted. And that was when Superman died. That's when Bane came out. That's when Spider-Man eventually went through a lot of different things too. But it was really just so many good artists, stories, things like that were out there. So it was hard to pick a favorite back then, except for the Scrooges and stuff like that. But Spider-Man was big. Captain America started to be really fun with the Ron Lim. His artwork and things like that really stood out to me as a kid. And then Image, I was a big Eric Larson fan, Todd McFarlane, stuff like that too. Yeah.
Oh yeah, man, I love both of them. And judging by the titles that you're naming and the artists, I'm guessing you're probably around the same age as I am. Because I was born in 1982.
Yeah, I was right about a year after that. Yep.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. That's awesome, man. So, were you like me and you grew up and walked away from it and then sort of came back at a certain point? Did you come back during COVID like a lot of us did?
It was before then. It was
really.
Yeah,
most of us. It was COVID. I found, like, most people I talked to, it's COVID that pulled them back in. What was it that pulled you back in before COVID?
Honestly, I think it was partially because of how I grew up. Like, I grew up, and to me, comics were always just a family affair. Like, my dad, my brothers. I had two older brothers that both my parents were interested. And my dad was a big Fantastic Four fan. My mom, she always liked Mighty Mouse, stuff like that too. So,
dude, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then so once I had kids, part of me was like, you know what? Maybe they'd want to go to like Free Comic Day. I heard about Free Comic Day, so I started to take them to Free Comic Day pretty early. And I didn't have any interest in like any of the news stories too much. Well, I didn't. It wasn't I didn't have any interest. I just didn't have any information about it. I heard I heard of Captain America dying when that happened, and that was to me that was kind of a trigger in my head of like, man, I remember when Superman died, and like our store blew up for like the whole year, and it was crazy. And
Yeah.
then
It
so
made
I got to hear
national
about
news, dude.
yeah,
It was
like
crazy.
it was nuts. Like we were there and we sold them all, and that was going to be our retirement, just like everybody else and everything like that. And
Yeah.
uh, so when Captain America died, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to go see if it's still just as chaotic. And it was kind of disappointing because it really wasn't. Like, and you might remember, I don't know if you remember when Captain America, that whole Civil War thing happened, but
Yeah, I
I
do.
remember I went into yeah, I remember I went into a shop like a week after it happened, and I was like, hey, do you guys still happen to have any like laying around, second print, third print, whatever? And they're like, yeah, we got all these over here. And I was like, oh, well, I guess it wasn't as big of a news. But to me, Captain America was just as influential as Superman was to a certain extent. And so,
Yeah.
that brought me in because I wanted to kind of see what the hubbub was. But a lot of it ultimately was kind of that generational. You know, I did it with my dad, and I wanted my kids to at least kind of experience whatever they could of it. You know, and if they were interested, great, and if they weren't, that's great. It still brought me in.
Yeah, I think that's really cool. I don't know what my mom was. I had an awesome mom when I was a kid, and I probably had every Ninja Turtle. She helped me. She had a collector in her, but like as far as my dad and my brothers, and like I very much come from a sports family, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, man. I wouldn't know what to do if I had like a family that was collectors. Like that would be crazy.
Yeah, and that was one of the other reasons that brought me back in too. Was my brother actually? He was 2 years older than me, so we were always big into it as kids.
Yeah,
And I think at the time, each of us had probably about one or two long boxes. Still, as an adult, like I just kind of kept it and moved with it, and it was just kind of an extra thing to keep around the house. So I always had like one long box with me. And then my brother in 2015, he actually passed away, which was
oh man, I'm
really
so sorry to hear that. That's
yeah.
horrible.
Yeah, it was really crazy, and it was huge impact for our family and everything like that. And
Yeah, definitely.
yeah, and then
Man,
so one
dude,
of
I'm
the
so sorry
yeah
to hear that.
yeah yeah, I didn't mean to drop the bomb on that, but
No,
didn't
man.
didn't prep you for that. But what was one of the silver linings with it was he did leave me his long box of comics, so I pretty much doubled my collection, which wasn't a huge thing, but it really kind of there was a lot of things that really kind of took off all at the same time. That was when so he died, and then he gave me his box of comics.
Yeah,
We also moved up to New Jersey at the time. That was also right when I got into Instagram and kind of started to get to know a lot of the community on there. And
cool.
so it
Yeah,
was, and then yeah, and then New Jersey became a really good hub for like I got to know some really great guys out there. I went to the Garden State Comic Fest out there, and it was
oh,
just
cool.
interesting how it all kind of snowballed. But I relate a lot of that to the fact that I think that's what my brother ultimately kind of would have wanted with that. Like
Yeah,
the argument could have been made like, hey, you got his box and then you sold it all off or you did all this stuff with it. And I was like, no, like I got back into the hobby because of him, and he's the one who helped get me back into it originally. But, through him passing, it kind of created the silver lining of like, you know what, I think he got me back into the community that I really liked being a part of as a kid, as an adult again too. So
wow,
there's
man.
kind of a lot of stuff all together like that.
Yeah, what a touching story though, and the fact that you,
Yes.
yeah, I definitely would have wanted to keep the books as well, and
Yeah.
yeah, that's really cool. That's awesome, man. And you've become a part of the community, and you're on Instagram because that's how I found you. You're on
Yeah.
there as O Rizzle, and it's what are the numbers after your name? It's O Rizzle
083. Yep.
083. O Rizzle 083. So if you guys aren't following, be sure to go follow Orion on Instagram. He's always posting comic book related stuff, cool books, all kinds of cool stuff. But Orizzle 083 on Instagram if you're not already following. But dude, I never knew that. What were some of the books? Which I mean, to me, it wouldn't matter at that point if they were my brother's books. They're going to be special no matter what. But like, what were some of the books that were in the long box?
So it was interesting comparing them, because you would think growing up in the same house we would have a lot of the same interests, but it was like almost exactly the opposite. Like
Really?
he had Spawn, whereas I had like Shadowhawk and Savage Dragon and stuff like that. He had like the first probably 40 or 50 issues of Spawn. He
Nice.
had the Flash run for a good chunk of that, because Flash was one of his favorite superheroes as a kid.
That's really cool.
He had Mad Love with Harley Quinn, which was big at the time too. So I was like, oh my gosh, I got a copy of this. And
Yeah, that's
he was big. He was big into He-Man, whereas I was a big Thundercats guy. So he had a handful of He-Man books and Simpsons, X-Files. A lot of his interests that he liked from other things, he found the comics that were related to him. So
very cool. So what kind of stuff are you currently collecting right now? Are you working on any runs, or are you a new comic book day kind of guy, or how are you collecting right now?
So I still, as far as the biggest run I'm trying to get is still Uncle Scrooge. So he's got, back from it's one of the longest runs, because it started back in the golden age. He's got, back in the 4-color days of Disney and Dell. And they just finished the last run of it probably 4 years ago. So there's about 450 issues or so. But I've got about 180 of those. So I'm, every time I go to a show or a shop, I'll, see if I can dig up a couple for that. So that's kind of the long-term run that I'm working on. But yeah, I still love New Comic Day. There's a great shop out in Utah. It's called the Nerd Store. They have, they kind of brought me back in a little bit too, because there wasn't really any great comic shops, at least where I'm at, out here until they started to come around.
Cool.
But yeah, there's some great stuff out there. I mean, Sacrificers is one of my favorite runs. Conan from Titan Comics is one of my favorite ones that I pick up every month.
Yeah, it's been very good. Everybody talks really good about it. Titan has done a lot of good titles. Titan's really surprised me. That's been a pretty good imprint.
Yeah, it's been exciting for that. And then I still like to collect different artists and stuff too. Like if David Finch does a cover, if Derek Chu does a cover, if E.M. Gist does a cover, Jen Frizen, you mentioned in the intro. Usually I'll pick up her stuff. Yeah.
Love Frizen. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, David Finch, I've got 3 short boxes full of his stuff now, which that was one of the things that kind of, during that intro of when I was getting back into comics, I remember he did one of the Captain America, the Fallen Sun issues. There's a Michael Turner cover and a David Finch cover, but David Finch did the interiors, and I remember at the time being like, I don't know who this guy is, but this art's amazing, and then it's interesting.
Hold it up again. Let me see it again. Hold it up again. I didn't get to see it.
Yeah, this one's the Michael Turner. Sorry, my camera's weird. This one's the Michael Turner cover, but there's a David Finch one of it too, and then David Finch did the interiors of it. So I remember. Yeah, I remember when this came out. Yeah. After that, I was like, man, I got to find this guy's stuff, and so here I am, 3 short boxes later with all David Finch stuff in it. So
do you? I bet it's really hard to. Well, I don't know how hard it is to find David Finch stuff, but I bet it's really hard to find the Scrooge stuff, the Uncle Scrooge stuff. How often are you going through bins and you're finding that? Because it seemed like that would be hard.
Yeah, it's not too much. Disney Uncle Scrooge books in general, in America at least, there's very few American collectors of the Duck Book, but it's crazy because in Europe, like Don Rosa, who's one of my favorite artists, he did a huge run of Uncle Scrooge for the comics, and he was at the Salt Lake show a couple of years ago, and I got to spend pretty much, it was like a lifelong dream for that, because I'd wanted to meet him since I was like 8 years old.
Wow, that's awesome.
But it was funny though, and he talks about this on his Facebook profile. He's like, you know what? Here I am at the U.S. shows, and there's like maybe 10 or 20 guests that are there throughout the day asking for autographs, and it's usually DuckTales related, which he never worked on. But so he has a sign on his station that even says that. He's like, I didn't do DuckTales. Please don't ask me about it. I'm not signing it. So he's kind of a curmudgeon, just like Scrooge is, which makes it really funny. But then he'll post about going to Europe and going to like Finland, and they're like lines around the block. So like Uncle Scrooge worldwide is huge. Like every other country in Europe they love Donald, they love Scrooge. They love the duck, the triplets and everything. But yeah, U.S. It's interesting because U.S. people will be like, oh, it's rare, so that must mean it's worth more money. And so if you do find one at an antique store, it's like $20 each, and you're like, these aren't worth $20 each. Nobody wants them. I'm the only one that actually wants them, But so I've luckily found a couple. There's been a couple good guys on Instagram too that I've been able to pick up some. They usually once they know that I do that, they usually tag me or they'll reach out and message me about stuff. They'll be like, "Hey, I picked up a collection. There's a little stack in there. Do you want some?" There was a lady on Facebook. I'm part of the Carl Barks Facebook group. He's kind of the original duck artist, and there was this. Yeah, there was this lady on there, and she was like, "Hey, my dad just passed away. I'm digging through all the stuff, and there's this huge box of Uncle Scrooge. Does anybody want it?" And I was like, "Yeah." And it wasn't free or anything, but she was like, I'd love to help anybody out who wants to collect them or honor his memory and stuff. And I had just actually lost my dad about a year before she lost hers, and so it was kind of a cool thing because I was like, "Hey, like I lost my dad, and like we're big comic fans, and I'd love to pick up issues I need for my run." And she was like, "Oh my gosh, I'd love to help out with that too." So, you find people in the community. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's been a pretty good experience for you being in this community.
Yeah, definitely.
That's
There's
awesome.
some people I've known in here for 7 or 8 years. I've met them in person. I've stayed at a couple of their houses if we ever, whenever we've traveled and stuff. I remember I went to Texas to go out there for work, and there was a guy out there that we had just gotten to know a little bit, and we just started hanging out, and eventually we ended up crashing on his couch once or twice because I just needed a place while my family got up here and stuff like that. So it's just really cool how big the community can be and how honest a lot of them are.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah.
Bobby Ghetto says some of those real old Scrooge McDuck comics can command a pretty penny. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, you can get ones like this too. Yeah, that one's always a good one. The golden helmet.
Man. That's beautiful. That's an awesome cover.
Yeah, that one's a classic. Luckily, I don't. And some of the guys on Instagram know this about me. I don't really care too much about condition as long as it's complete and attached is usually the only two criteria. But other than that, I'm like, you know what? If it's readable, this is another. This is the first appearance of Gyro Gearloose. You might remember him as like the inventor from DuckTales and stuff like that. But that's like a really nice yellow cover.
It is. Yeah, that's really nice. I love that.
I know yellow. Yeah, yellow covers are big on Instagram this month for one of the challenges out there. Stuff like that, though. But like I said, I'll find these, and some people don't care about them, so they're like, yeah, $20, whatever. And I'm like, heck yeah, I'll take that. First Flintheart Clown Gold, first, Gyro Gearloose, let's take it,
Those are amazing.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun.
Got anything else close by? What's up, DVH? While I got you blown up, you got anything else sitting there that's cool that you could show off? I don't mean to put you on the spot.
Oh, no problem. This one, somebody actually, my good friend Josh on Instagram, he actually sent me this. It's just kind of a random act of kindness. It was, it's Uncle Scrooge Goes to Disneyland, and it's got people always talk about variants a lot, and how some people are like, no, variants didn't come out until like the 80s or the 90s. But this one has a back cover that not every issue has. Like sometimes there's just an ad back there.
Really?
So this one, yeah. So this one's like a super old school variant because it either has the ad or it has this, different scenes from the back and stuff like that. So
certain ones I just have the ad, but then would you consider that to be like the better copy because it has like cooler pictures on the back?
Yeah, this one I think is harder to find, and I don't know if it had anything to do with like old school newsstand versus direct or any of that business, but I know it was definitely just a random variant that didn't have, it wasn't part of the regular run. It was just kind of part of the specific stuff.
Yeah.
So that one was really cool. One of the other, I think I've talked about this one on Instagram. This one's probably the craziest variant, at least that I know of. This is the first Don Rosa book that he worked on for Scrooge.
Oh, damn.
And I got him to sign it. But what's funny is on the regular issues. Sorry, the camera. I'm not used to it. The regular issues, the cane and the suit and everything for Flintheart Glomgold are
Yeah.
green. So if you pull up Uncle Scrooge 219, most of the issues you see will have him having a green jacket and green cane.
Okay.
But this one's like the brown ink variant. And Don Rosa talks about this in some of his libraries and stuff. He's like, due to like a printing error, they started it with the brown, but then it just eventually got so diluted and things like that that it became green and it became a more favorable color. So they just printed them all in green. So there's
Wow.
like a really small handful of brown jackets, which is, I always want to quote Happy Gilmore when it talks about that, because I'm like, gold jacket, green jacket, who gives a crap kind of a thing. But it's just a really funny variant that like literally U.S. collectors probably have no real idea about.
Yeah, I didn't.
So much so that I think I found this on eBay, which don't hate me for that. But I found it on eBay and it was like a what do they call those? Like a salvage store, pawn shop kind of a thing, and they were selling it for they had it listed as like a penny as an opening bid, and like nobody else bid on it, so I got it for like a penny plus shipping. As like,
crazy.
Yeah, it's just so, but he didn't list it as anything crazy. He was just like, "Here's this Uncle Scrooge book," and I was like, "All right, let's take it." So that was really cool. And then there's some other. I know Roberto was talking about that. Roberto, I think, is who it was. Some of these. This one's getting kind of rare lately because the character Bombi the Zombie. He's been in the news a lot lately because Disney decided to not reprint any stories with him because it's kind of a racially sensitive character, because they kind of supposedly he looks a lot like African American generalizations and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's got like voodoo and like Haiti culture and stuff like that too. So it's just an interesting part of it, because this is the Carl Bark story, but then there's some Don Rosa stories where he's the character too, but any of the characters currently are not being reprinted. So a lot of collectors were starting to go after this one. I think I got this for like $20 or less.
That's a score.
Yeah, and then this one I think I have 3 or 4 copies of, but it's the first appearance of Flintheart Glomgold, if you remember him from the DuckTales Genie in the Lamp video that came out when we were kids, or DuckTales.
I'm a huge DuckTales fan, and Darkwing Duck, and for sure. Definitely.
Yeah, but Flintheart Glomgold, and it's interesting because this book, you can look it up on eBay, it's just Uncle Scrooge 15. You can still get pretty cheap, low-grade copies of that for $10-15, but to me, he's like the best villain of the comic world. Like, he's somebody I love. The story's hilarious. The story's great. Any story he's in is great. But they're still so affordable in the U.S. Unless you want the high grade slabbed, all that stuff.
And I love seeing that kind of stuff, because that's an area in comics that I just don't know a lot about, but I'm super interested in learning. So dude, I find, and they're beautiful covers, man. I love those covers. Like the one you showed with the yellow background where they were with the golf clubs, and some amazing covers. I can see why you collect them. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I got this one. I think I even got this one, or I have 2 copies of this somewhere, but I got one of these from West Coast Avengers. He's on Instagram, but I went to one of his sales about a year ago. Cool. And picked that up. He just had it kind of laying in there, same kind of thing, and he sold it for a good price. It was about what it was going for, but I was like, hey, I'll take that. I'll always give those Duck books a home. That's for sure.
That's really cool. So are you getting any of them graded? You're just pretty much collecting them raw right now?
Yeah, just raw. I got one graded. Well, I didn't get it graded. Somebody on Instagram, actually, same kind of thing, random act of kindness. They were like, hey, I have this. I got it in a collection. I don't have an e-sport in my collection, but I know you love the Duck books. And it was like a 9.4 or something or other. Nice. But yeah, I kept it in the slab for a while. And it's interesting because if you watch like Don Rosa on Facebook, he actually does like a break the slab, like because he's been a collector his whole life. Like he has like, probably Amazing Spider-Man 1 and AF-15 and all that kind of, like, he has a crazy collection that he's had for his whole life. And so he every now and then does get into like why slabs are not great for the hobby and stuff like that, according to him, which obviously that's topic for another day that I'm not equipped to necessarily get into. But so he does like a break the slab thing every couple of weeks. And I remember when I had that issue from my buddy, he didn't care about the grade. He was like, you know what, do whatever you want with it if you want it in your collection. And I needed it for my run, so I'm like, I'm not going to have a whole run and then like one random slab. So I actually did that on Instagram a couple months ago. I think I did a kind of a break the slab challenge myself where I just cracked it open and set it free kind of a thing, which was fun. I'm not a huge fan of slabs. I like talking to people about why they think they're important for sure. It's never been a huge part of what I like about the hobby, but everyone collects what they love and everything.
Exactly, man. You just collect what makes you happy. It doesn't matter what other people think. If your collection makes you happy, that's what matters. You collect it. I don't know, man. In the past, like when I first got back into collecting, I was buying anything and everything and like a lot of spec buying. And you just end up with a lot of stuff you really don't want and you really don't care about. And so that's not the way to go for sure. But what are some of your goals this year for the hobby? Like, are there any books you're chasing right now that you're currently on the hunt for?
I mean, my wish list, if I ever have one, is usually I have the whole Uncle Scrooge Dell part of his run, like the Dell comics. I have his issues 2 through 39.
That's impressive.
And the issue 2 and 3 aren't called issue 2 and 3. They're called like 4-color, I forget what it is, 318 or.
Yeah, I featured one of those books on a Christmas special that I did this past year, I believe. Does one of them have like some Christmas spec attached to it?
Well, the first appearance of Uncle Scrooge is 4-color 178, and it's Christmas on Bear Mountain. So
there you go.
Like a whole
Okay.
So that one's always on my wish list, but I mean that one's hundreds of dollars, and I don't ever plan on really spending hundreds of dollars on any book really, just because it's not in any kind of budget that would realistically fit me. If I might trade for it, I might dig through a collection or something like that, but. So 4-color 178, which is first appearance of Scrooge, and then 4-color 386. I've had a couple people bring that up to me recently. It's usually in like the $100 or $200 range as far as the low. But again, that's still pretty high up there. But like I said, I've been working with a couple of people to try to get some trades going and stuff like that, because that's always on the list as far as any kind of big book. But other stuff. I've been into artists lately. I just got into a little bit of Dave Stevens. He's kind of popular lately, as I'm sure you know.
Oh yeah, he's blown up.
Yeah, I had a couple of really good finds at the shop that is in Utah that I don't really go to very much. They kind of do the gaming thing, and they don't really care about the comic side of things. And so I remember I was digging through it. Yeah, I didn't like to badmouth too much on it, but it is fun. But they do the whole like pricing at the register, which every time I mention that on Instagram, everybody's like,
God.
"Yeah, leave them immediately." Oh. But what was funny, and the reason I'm not a fan of pricing at the register, I will definitely say that. But
no, I don't like it at all.
Yes, but let me see. Do I have a copy of that? The fun thing about pricing at the register is this particular store, they use My Comic Shop as their pricing gun, which is weird, but whatever. But however they want to do it, I don't know. But
go figure.
But they had they had 4 copies of Alien Worlds #2, which is the Dave Stevens with like the pink cover. I posted on it a week or two ago. And those books are blown up a little bit because of the Dave Stevens stuff. But I remember I brought 2 of them to the register. I should have brought all 4, but I brought 2.
Is it that one?
Yep, that one there. So I bought 2 of them. Well, I brought 2 of them to the register with a stack of other stuff. And I was like, do your thing. I'll be back in 20 minutes, which is a weird customer service thing to do, to be like, hey, tell me your price on this, and I'll be back 20 minutes from now. So it's weird, but for whatever reason, that book is not currently in My Comic Shop, and apparently this employee was like, all right, well, it's not listed, so it's $2. And I was like, okay. So I picked up 2.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, man. I didn't mean to cut you off.
Oh, no problem. My internet might be weird too. But yeah, so I ended up getting 2 copies of Alien Worlds 2 for $2 each because of the whole pricing at the register, fiasco that they like to do. So I was like, all right.
That is a killer score. Yeah, and I was just
Yeah.
going to point out that Dr. Von Hoot was pointing out that the upside to pricing at the register is that they are obviously flexible about what the price is. I'd automatically ask for money off if they did that to me. That's what he said. So
Yeah, and they've done that for me every now and then. They have the first couple times I went there when I first moved here, I hated them, and I would go like once a year just to like hate myself more, to be like, you know what, like, let's see how bad I feel about myself. Let me go walk around, and their back stock is like just buried. Like there's very minimal sorting. Like sometimes they'll do like, here's the A box, here's the B box, here's the C box, but even that, it's not consistent throughout. And they have like 4 stores out here, but so you dig through, you spend an hour digging through, you find some really cool stuff. Like I found first appearance of Bane out there. I found some crazy. I didn't buy it because they were like, yeah, it's $80. And I was like, all right, well, I don't want to do that, but it was buried in your box back there.
See, like if I do all that digging, I want to get it for a good price. If I'm doing all that digging, that's just me though. Like I'm gonna walk away mad, really mad, if they tell me they want what it's going for after I did all that digging.
Yeah, I found some good books for them before, but yeah, the Alien Worlds was my favorite part because they literally were like, I guess they're $2 each, and I was like, I should have gone back and got, because they had 5 altogether. I should have definitely gone back and gotten the other 3. I just felt rushed, whatever. I had to leave. I did go back, and then I was like, hey, they told me that last time these were like $2 each, so you don't have to look them up. But the owner was there this time, and he was like, wait, what? Who told you what now? And like he knew what they were. He was like, no, sorry. The most I could do is like $30, $40 for these.
I was going to say 30, 40. Yeah, 30, 40 each.
Yeah. So I kind of blew it on the second part, but I still got, two of them for $2 each. So I'm definitely not going to hate that.
Sure.
Yeah. And I got the first issue, which is the Chiodo cover too, that I got that for about $5. So, I mean, it was they do okay every now and then. And again, luckily I collect a lot of stuff that most people don't care about. So, I've definitely found some cool stuff that I need for cover price or whatever the case is. So
I do too. I collect some pretty obscure stuff myself.
Yeah.
We got Jimmy G, the comic guy, in the house. He says, hi guys. Wolf Wolf says, woo. What's up, man? Tell Wolf Wolf I said hello. And I hope you're having a great week, Jimmy G. Thank you for stopping by, man. Let's talk about some comedy, dude. I heard, because I just wanted to have you on to talk about comic books. And then I found out you did this little stand-up bit, and I looked you up on YouTube. And you guys, if you want to type in Orion Trunk on YouTube, and you pull up the clip. It's like a 3-minute clip, but you did the stand-up act, and it was pretty hilarious, dude. I really, really liked it. I would never have the balls to get up on stage and do a routine, no matter how funny it was. What made you decide that you wanted to do that?
It's hard to tell sometimes because, like I said at the beginning of all this, I'm not really known immediately for kind of that charismatic class clown type of comedian, but I definitely have always tried to find humor and stuff. I have kind of that quiet wittiness where I like to make little jokes to the person next to me, but that's, I don't talk loud enough for the person 2 people down. So half the time they're like, wait, what did you just say? And they get all surprised. The thing I hear at work most of the time is like, oh, I didn't even know you were funny. That's great. Like as soon as I make some kind of joke at some point. But I mean, I grew up as a Nick at Night kid. I loved all the old classic TV shows like Taxi and
awesome.
Bob Newhart Show. I Love Lucy, all those. So I mean, I just grew up definitely focused on comedy. I mean, Saturday Night Live was a big part growing up, and then just the John Candy, Dan Aykroyd era. They were big when we were kids. So I think it was just, again, kind of a really perfect time of just getting to know a lot of really good influential comedy, and then eventually being like, you know what, I want to help other people feel the way I do when I listen to comedy and stuff. So I mean, I've been to a few comedy shows over the years, and they're just a lot of fun. And so I was like, you know what, maybe I could open for them one day or get my own little special or whatever. So,
and I think it went over pretty well, man. Judging by the the crowd in the video, it seemed like you won over the crowd pretty well, and it went pretty good for you. Is that something that you are going to do in the future, or was that a one-time thing?
No, I think since you've looked on there, I'm not sure. I have uploaded a couple on there. This year, I've actually gotten 2 paid gigs, I guess would be what they. I mean, they were like $20 each, but they were still, seven,
Hey, it's
7, 8
money.
minutes. Yeah,
Money.
yeah, 7 or 8 minute sets, and I was, I got like 20 something bucks for it. I actually have another show coming up next. I think it's this Saturday, actually.
Really?
So I'll have another video on YouTube probably in the next week or so. So yeah, I mean, to me, it's been a good. It's not something I'm pursuing a lot. Like I'm not going on tour or anything like that because it's hard to do that. Plus I'm not that good yet, but it's definitely, there's a lot of really cool stuff out here in Utah that supports it. And so I've definitely found some really good communities out here that are supporting what I'm doing. So it's been a lot of fun for sure.
That is great. That's awesome to hear. I hope that you do when you perform. I hope that you are able to get it recorded and put up on YouTube, because I would like to see more content. I feel like if you guys watching, if you go check it out, I'm sure that you'll like it. I'm sure that you'll think it's funny. But yeah, man, I would love to see more content from you as far as comedy stuff.
Yeah. I got a little channel out there. I think there's like 4 or 5 videos on there now. So definitely check it out.
We got some Bobby De La Ghetto quoting Rodney Dangerfield. So
Nice.
a classic comedian. And speaking of classic comedians, who are some of your favorites? Who are some comedians that have inspired you and really kind of made you want to do the comedy thing?
That's a good question, and it's kind of funny because talking to comic people, on Instagram and stuff, most people have their comic wall with actual comic books and stuff. But I did something that one of the comedy troops out here, they have a comedy wall or a comic wall too, where they do records of comedians, and so that's something I started to do. Yeah, it's another little side hobby that if I see them at thrift stores or online, there's a couple folks online that sell them and stuff like that. But so I started to have this wall in my office where it has a lot of the, kind of the big names or even some of the little names. There's a couple of random ones on there, but I mean, to me, Bob Newhart, Steve Martin were both really big ones.
Mm-hmm.
Which is funny because Bob Newhart is like the Uncle Scrooge of comic books. I think like everybody knows who he is, but they have no idea what kind of jokes he does. And I'm like, no, he's like literally my favorite guy.
It's a certain type of humor. It's it's great. It's great. I love him.
Yeah. My wife and I actually got to see him in Florida, so it was back in about 2013. So it was,
awesome.
It was great seeing him live. I saw Steve Martin and Martin Short actually in Texas too a couple of years ago. So it was really neat seeing some of those. But yeah, even like I grew up with like Mama's Family, so like Carol Burnett, Vicki Lawrence.
Yes.
That whole crew. They were huge growing up. I love that show. I love Lucy, Lucille Ball. And then the SNL crew, Chris Farley, David Spade, Norm Macdonald, huge Norm Macdonald fan. Stuff like that.
Love Norm Macdonald. I love his style of humor.
Yeah, Norm Macdonald's great. I have his book, and his book reads just as well as anything he does, which is hilarious. But
yeah, he's cool.
Yeah, so I like a lot of the drier comedians. It seems like.
Yeah, Stu, Dr. Doom's fan club. Stu, what's up, man? Glad you could make it. He says Steve Martin rules. The Jerk is a fave movie. The Jerk is a classic, an absolute classic.
Mm-hmm.
That term gets thrown around a lot nowadays, but that movie really is a classic.
Yeah, for sure.
I liked. I'll definitely put Dave Chappelle up there for me, just because, dude, he's been one of my favorite comedians for a long, long time now. I love Chappelle.
Yeah.
I would say Eddie Murphy back in like the Eddie Murphy Delirious or Eddie Murphy Raw around that time period. I really liked Eddie Murphy.
I got him over there on the wall.
Nice. Yes. Yeah. So I would put him up. Richard Pryor. I would definitely have Richard Pryor up there somewhere.
Yep. He's there.
Dude. Yeah, you've been getting compliments. The chat has been complimenting your wall throughout this live stream. So Bobby De La Ghetto shouted out your wall at the beginning of the stream.
Nice. Yeah, there's a
Um,
couple others. There's Smothers Brothers. There's Lily Tomlin up there. There's Flip Wilson. He was a good classic one back in the day too.
yes.
And then
Um,
Bob
Cheech and
Bob Newhart.
Chong, people like kind of downplay them because of the weed smoking humor or whatever, but they're
Right.
legends, man. They're absolutely funny.
Oh yeah.
Cheech Marin was a funny comedian aside from the whole Cheech and Chong thing, and Tommy
Mhm.
Chong was too, man. They're both hilarious guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
What'd you think about? Where did you ever get into Cheech and Chong? Did you ever see any of their movies at all?
I mean, I saw them a little bit. They weren't like a huge influence on me, but I mean, I definitely knew who they were, and definitely could, you know, spot them in a lineup and everything like that. They were great.
Yeah, dude, that's so cool to hear that you're going to do this more. I'm
Yeah.
excited to hear that.
Yeah, definitely. It's been a lot of fun.
What was it like coming off stage? Was because like I probably would have had a damn heart attack up there. My heart would have been beating out of my chest. I have like an anxiety deal though, but how did you get through that? Did you just go up there and just like tough it out? You just don't even think about it and just start doing it, or how did you approach that?
Yeah, I mean, the comedy is definitely a lot about writing. That was one of the things I learned, and I actually took a little bit in Utah. They have an improv where they offered stand up classes, and so my wife gave me that for my birthday a couple of years ago. She was like, you
Oh,
know what,
cool.
let's go ahead and do it. And so it was like 6 classes where they just kind of go into all the different, you know, what's a callback, what's physical comedy, what's slapstick, you know, kind of. It was a really cool, you know, reference point because we got to just watch clips and kind of analyze who makes what successful and everything like that.
That's awesome.
And I've always been, I don't know, I'm a weird person because I have a lot of anxiety with stuff like that. Like I don't consider myself somebody who likes doing public speaking or things like that, but I do. I mean, I've taught Sunday school for like 15 years. I've presented and done trainings at work all the time. I've
Mhm.
done stand up. So like I like doing it, but I know that I don't do it the way that most people do it. So it's a very odd, you know, stimulus for me because like I'll go up there and I'll have stuff that I've written down and I'll have like a great set that I think is great, and then I'll get up there and kind of scramble it up a little bit sometimes, or I'll forget about it, or I'll be like, well, I don't know if that's really funny, or if I say it like this, maybe it's funnier. And so I like the over analyzing that can happen with, you know, hey, that joke didn't go well this time. Maybe should I keep it? Should I do it better? Um, I luckily I inherited from my dad the power of being invisible. Of like, you know what? Once this is done, I'm probably not going to see people again, or they're just not going to remember it. Like, it's a very interesting thing because I mean I put it on YouTube and so like literally anybody can watch it, but like
Mhm.
I rarely, unless I'm in some situation where somebody's like, hey, by the way, Orion's a comedian, like it doesn't come up on a regular basis. So it's a very interesting part of my life because I'm not in any way well known, but it's hardly even like a subject of conversation unless somebody's like, hey, by the way, Orion does this, and then people are like, oh wait, what do you do? And I don't, you know, I bring it up if it's part of the conversation, but it's just a very, just to answer your question there, I mean, as soon as I get off the stage, half the time I'm like, you know what, I'm probably never going to see a lot of these guys again, and if I did, it wasn't terrible. I bombed one time a little bit where I just kind of forgot what I was going to do with the joke, and it involved like song lyrics, and I just couldn't remember the song lyrics, and I was like, you know what, I'll just be done for today. And it was open mic, so like nobody cares.
Oh, that's
But
cool.
you know, I was still like, as soon as I sat down, you know, I was like, you know what? What's the worst that's going to happen? Probably nothing because I'm still pretty insignificant as far as comedians go. So let's just, you know, work out the kinks now. But it's still
Yeah.
just the rush and the laughter is still way better than any kind of potential negging in the comments or whatever the case is. So, you know,
Nice. So you're just going in as prepared as you possibly can be, and just hoping for the best.
yeah. I mean, I tend to know what I find funny at least, and that's usually the thing. Is as long as you can, as long as you find it funny and you can break down the audience enough to where they trust you. And that's why usually the bit you saw might have had me, you know, I got them laughing pretty quickly right away. And
Yeah.
usually if you can do that, and then I tend to be a little self-deprecating, which helps because then they're like, well, if he can laugh at himself, then we can laugh at whatever else he wants to do and stuff like that. So it
Yeah.
works out pretty well.
You got him with a good laugh right out the gate. I can't remember what you said, but you got him with a good laugh right out the gate, and you kind of just kept him from there, man. You did a really good job.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
I highly recommend you guys in the chat, if you've never checked it out, just type in Orion, Orion Trunk, Trunk, and it'll bring up. It's like a 3-minute and something, I don't know, 3-minute clip. But it's funny. Check it out. Go check it out. And hopefully he will put some stuff up for us to check out really soon. And in the meantime, you can also follow him on Instagram at orizzle083. And he's always putting up comic book content, really cool books, all sorts of cool stuff. So you guys go follow him if you aren't already. And dude, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you want to talk about?
Not that I can think of. I mean, I'm currently doing a year-long hashtag you might have seen where it's 365 days of women in comics, which is a really fun comic book.
What's that about?
Well, it's really just every month I post it, and I've done it a couple of years. Me and a couple other guys on there. Hawk Hulk 77, I think is his name. I can never remember the numbers. DJ EROON. He's done it before. We did this a couple of years ago. We decided to do, instead of like the monthly challenge, we did a 365-day challenge. So I did one for David Finch a couple of years ago. They did one for like Red Sonja and Eric Larson. But this year I started it initially to just do it for myself. I was like, I just want to see if I can post a different book every day that involves either a woman character or a woman creator. Just because there's definitely a lot of, people online that talk about wokeness and about woke, all these things, and there's again a different subject for a different time, I'm sure. But I mean, to me, there's always amazing women creators, characters, and artists and things like that. So at the beginning of every month, I just started it in May, so we're only on like day 40. But I posted a list the beginning of May, and then I posted a new list beginning of June. And there's just day 1, it's Shadowcat, day 2, it's Psylocke, stuff like that. And there's some big names out there, but then there's also some really obscure ones. Like today is the one from it's a random character from Doom Patrol that a lot of people don't necessarily think about. So it's just really neat because there's a couple of people on there who do post about it. There's about 5 or 6 regulars, maybe about 10 altogether throughout the month that do it on a regular basis. And most of their comments are like, what? I didn't even know I had this in my collection, but here it is, and it's like a creator or a colorist or an artist or a writer or a character. They'll be like, yesterday's was Karma from New Mutants, which again people don't really think about her too much, but she was a huge part of the original team and stuff. So it's just a way to showcase something every day, a little bit of just the amazing women out there who want to create and want to be characters out there and things like that. So it's a lot of fun. But yeah, I was gonna try to come up with 365 days. I hand wrote out a list before May, and I came up with over 300 so far. But there's still a handful that I need to pick up. I think I saw a couple in the comments there that I'll probably make sure I add there too. But it's a lot of fun. Yeah,
Bobby mentioned Afua Richardson and Maria Wolf. I know Maria Wolf, well, not personally, but I know her work, and it's amazing.
Yeah, she's got some awesome covers out there for sure.
Yes. Bobby wanted to know, are you aware there's a character from DC New Gods with the same name?
I am, yeah. That's another one that kind of comes up every now and then. It's Darkseid's son, I think, something like that. But yeah, there was his first appearance is a little pricey, so I don't have a copy of it yet. And he's kind of an a-hole in the comics too, so it's always a funny like comparison because like here I am, this quiet nobody, whatever, and here's this guy that's like son of like the best villain in the DC universe and stuff like that. So yeah, he's a cool character though. Rides his little skateboard wheelie thing.
Awesome.
Through this guys, yeah.
We got Wellbore saying, "Hey, welcome, Wellbore. Thanks for popping in, man." Well, dude, thank you so much for coming and hanging out with us this week. It's been a lot of fun. I really appreciate you, and I really appreciate you guys in the chat. They came and hang out with us as well. You guys were awesome, and anybody checking out the replay, I appreciate you guys as well. You got anything that? What do you got coming up in the next couple of weeks? Where can people what can people expect from Orion Trunk in 2024?
Definitely more comedy, definitely more duck books. I'm actually, I dabble in art also, which we didn't really talk about too much, and I don't bring it up a lot. I do have another Instagram. It's called Orion's_sketches, where I do a lot of, I do a lot of McFarlane Finch influence stuff, but I've been trying to explore my own style as well as a lot of other artists.
So you're an artist as well. Why didn't we cover this? Damn.
Another episode, I guess. But
yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but I did actually. There's a writer out here who's been wanting to find an artist for his script, and we actually met up at either Free Comic Day or the grand opening of the Orem Nerd Store last year. And he actually was saying he needed an artist for his script, and then he let me do like a sample page for him, and he was like, "Oh my gosh, I love this!" And I've tried to get other artists to do it, and they haven't really matched the style I'm looking for. So he and I are working on an ash can. It's crazy imposter syndrome. Like, I don't mind doing stand up, I don't mind doing a lot of stuff, but like for me, art is still very much like, no, I know how to replicate other artists very well. I know how to, find the science behind it and kind of reverse engineer sketches and stuff like that. But doing it from scratch, the imposter syndrome is crazy. But I've gotten a decent amount of the pencils down, but I'm penciling, inking, and coloring like the whole 7-page ash can. Hopefully by the end of the summer, I will have that all, and maybe we even have an ash can that we can talk about on a later episode or something like that.
Man, yeah, when you get ready to do that, holler at me and definitely come back and let's talk about it. We'll check it out. And what was the name of the other Instagram again?
It's just Orion Sketches. Luckily, Orion is not a very popular name, but it's Orion's_sketches.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So if you guys would head over to Orion_sketches and be sure to follow him there as well. Orion, thank you, man. This has been so much fun. I really appreciate you.
No problem, man. It's been awesome.
And guys, I will be back tomorrow night for a special Comic Book Addicts tomorrow at 10 p.m. Eastern Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. We're going to be talking to artist John Boy Myers. So that's going to be a really awesome show. Can't wait for that. We'll be doing a cool giveaway as well for people in the chat. So I hope that you guys will come back tomorrow night and hang out with us. But it's been a lot of fun, and I really appreciate you guys. Until next time, we'll end how we always do. If I can find it, with a little Biggie Shack. See you guys next time.
I'd say that one is a banger, man. It's a real certified banger, dude.